Welcome to the Best of Brighton. This is Table for Two. Today, my special guest is Bob Herbst. Many of you know him, but don't know his story. Bob was born actually here in Brighton at the Millis Hospital. Tell us a little bit about that.
That's one of the things that I'm very pleased to say that I'm a true Brighton native. Back when Millis Hospital was in effect. Millis Hospital was there for a good number of years, from the late 20s into the early 50s, well, I guess the late 50s. And that's where many people that were born in Brighton would have been born. And of course, I used to always tease because the present office of Pam McConaughey is in the old operating room where all the births took place. And yes, across the hallway is the nursery, and that's where I stayed for a few days before I went home.
So tell us about your folks. What did they do for a living, and when did they actually move to Brighton?
My folks, our Herbst family is the new Herbst family to the town of Brighton. The original Herbst family came in the 1830s, 40s. My family didn't come till the 1930s, the late 1930s, after my dad graduated from the University of Michigan, and with a degree in electrical engineering, which he never used. Then he stayed here and managed a farm for my dad's uncle, my great uncle. And it was out on Chalice Road, just beyond Ski Lodge, which was called Hooks Acres. Hooks Acres was there until the 1955, when it was actually sold and went out of the family. And it wasn't our family, because it was my dad's uncle's family. And then's when I moved off the farm. I was born in that period. Can I say the early, actually 1940, I'm proud of my age. Yes, today is, I'm 80, and so in 1955, when I was 15, I moved off the farm and off to McClements Road. My mom spent 1 year at Western University, and then she married my dad to become a farmer's housewife, if you want to call it, a farmer's wife. And she had a lot to learn because she was raised in Detroit. My dad was born in LaPorte, Indiana, and moved to Detroit in the time, and that's actually where he met my mother the first time. So they came out here to be a new farm family. Of course, my dad had quite a good experience in farming because he was in Wisconsin for a while, and before he moved to the Detroit area.
Okay. So what was it like as a kid, say 11, 12 years old? What was it like in Brighton?
What was it like? It was definitely, can I say, angle parking, both sides of Main Street, and you still had 2 lanes down through the center.
Parking meters?
No, not
no
then.
Parking?
That's Russian things.
Okay.
We didn't get the parking meters until the 60s and 70s.
Okay.
And but I can remember I'm very fond memory of where Brighton Bar and Grill is today. That was the feed mill, and as a 13-year-old, I was able to get a driver's license. And yes, 13 years old, driver's license to be able to take either milk to the milk depot, which was on 2nd Street, or take feed down to the feed mill to be ground up for the livestock to eat. And so that was 2 things. I was limited to those 2 localities for driving. Never went to Howell, only to Brighton to get the feed ground or bring the milk into the milk depot, which we were on a large farm. We had 35 head of milking cows, 100 head of sheep, pigs, chickens, just a true farm. And yes, I had my pet was a pet goat, and I had a billy goat as a pet as a kid growing up, but we always had collie dogs.
What was the name of the goat? Did you name the goat?
If I did, I don't remember.
Don't remember.
It's one of those
Okay.
things that has slipped my mind through the years. But
Okay.
he would follow me all over the farm. He was not allowed. The house was on one side of the road and the barns on the other side, and he was never allowed to go across the road.
So he was well trained.
Well trained, right?
Good deal. Tell us a little bit about your school experience, mainly high school. Were you a good student?
Yes, I was a very good student. Very, very fortunate. My dad and my mom both instilled in me the need for further education, so I knew that I had to go beyond high school. I knew I had to go to college, so I was always a good student, very competitive, and so forth. Yes, in the class of 1958, I graduated from Brighton High School, and yes, I went to all the schools in the Brighton area schools back when we used the basement of the Presbyterian Church or the basement of the St. George Lutheran Church as classrooms. And these were places that was part of where the classes were. Yes, I finished up at the top of the hill, and very, very fortunate that I was able to work hard and learn well. I enjoyed very, very much school. I enjoyed the challenges. I was good in math, sciences, and yes, I'll brag a little and say I was the top boy in the class of 58. Yes, I will be truthful and tell you there was four girls ahead of me.
What was the size of your class? Do you remember? Your graduating class?
It was in the 50s and 60s.
Okay.
50s, 55, 56 maybe sticks in my mind as the best.
Okay. And back then, the population of Brighton, I'm sure, was pretty small.
Yes, quite small.
Maybe less than 1,000?
No,
Or-
in the 1,000 to 2,000 bracket.
Oh, okay.
Just it was, how do we say, a growing town. Very, very rural though. And as you went down Main Street, all my clothes had to come from Sears Roebuck or Montgomery Ward catalogs because there was a clothing store for kids here, but it was kind of expensive for my folks to be able to buy clothes for. I have two younger brothers. There was 3 boys in the family, and it was pretty expensive for boys growing up in terms of shoes and pants and shirts and things like that.
Okay. So when you were in school, you were also working at Huber's, correct?
That's correct, yes. When at 15, when we moved off the farm, I knew I wanted to go to college, and so I needed to find a job. And so I stopped and saw Chuck Huber, and he still always reminded me of the day that I came in. I wore glasses back then even. I wore glasses all my life, and this very timid, shy-looking fellow came in and asked me for a job. And he told me who he was, what he wanted to do, and he says, I took a chance on you and I hired you. And at that time, even Chuck, because of the soda fountain in the old drugstore on Main Street, where Rosie's Boutique is today, that's where the drugstore was. And I enjoyed working there for him. I worked very hard. Because I was brought up on a farm, I was taught to do the best you could and always work extra hard and give more than you got back. And yes, his first job was, I believe it was 55, 60 cents an hour.
Wow.
Sure, I raised up through the years, but I was able to, and Chuck Huber gave me the advantage of being able to be very, if you want to call it, in charge. Chuck had a problem because he owned a drugstore, wasn't a pharmacist, so he always had to hire 2 pharmacists. So I got a key to the store because the pharmacists were not always on time in the morning. So I would open up and get the soda fountain going, get the coffee made and things like this for the coffee, for the 16 stools that we had in the pharmacy, the pharmacy part of the soda fountain part of the pharmacy. 17 foot wide and about 70 foot deep. Yes, it was an unusual arrangement. It worked well.
Great. Now that's where your interest came in with pharmacy, right?
Yes, that's where I was stimulated to go to pharmacy school. And since my dad graduated from the University of Michigan, I was eligible for a grant to pay for my tuition. I applied for it and got it. And I was very fortunate, and I had to keep the grant up because I kept my grades as good as I could in college. Nothing like I did in high school because it's a little bit harder and tougher.
Right.
Back then, Brighton was not known for its sending students to college that were, you can say, able and capable of that level.
So what year after, while you worked at Huber's, what year did they move out of that location and go to the one that everybody knows next to Cephas, Farmer Jack's, and probably other grocery stores? But what year actually was that Huber's moved?
Huber's moved in 1961. For some reason, I'm going to tell you it was in the fall, I'm pretty sure if I remember correctly, or summer, but we moved from Main Street to the corner, our favorite corner, our corner as we used to always call it, of Main Street and Grand River. And like you said, we always had different tenants next to us. The tenant to the north or to the right of us if you were looking at, if you were in the store, to the left of us if you were looking at the store. And that one started out as a laundromat. Started out as a laundromat and had many different tenants over the years. Caddy Shack was one of them, somewhere along the line. Then it went to Pete's Place and Papa
John's, yep.
Papa John's.
I remember that.
And then, of course, to the Shusey, where it is today.
Okay. So it's been many things in there.
Yes.
And pretty much successful, as I remember when I was young here growing up. Now, you have some news for us today about Huber's that you'd like to share with everybody.
Right. This is being taped on October 1st of 2021. And yesterday, the last day of September, was the 25th anniversary closing of Huber's. So believe it or not, it's been 25 years that Huber's is closed. And of course, it went from Huber's to Arbor's to CVS, which it is today.
Right.
And of course, I should say that CVS is the one that came in, and Arbor at the same time came in, and they took over the grocery store and expanded the drugstore. And Huber's was a memento, a memory of town, because it was here. It opened up in 61, 62, 63 era is when the Brighton Mall opened up. And of course we had a lot more competition down there. It used to be Huber's was where everything was at, and that's true. We were one of the first drugstores in the state of Michigan to sell motor oil, which sort of expanded it into your chain drugstores of today. And back, I'm very proud of, and back in the early 90s, Huber's was the fifth drugstore in the state of Michigan to throw out tobacco. And here again, that's a very controversial thing, and it always has been controversial, but here again, I felt it was something I should do. I got you better and well in the back as a pharmacist, but then I was killing you in the front of the store. Been very, very successful, and I enjoyed very, very much working with and helping the community for years and years. I would even have people that would call from Florida, back when going to Florida at Christmas time or spring break was a luxury. And I would have them call from there and say, Bob, I got this problem. What do I do to fix it? And I would send them into the drugstores down there, what to get, buy, and take care of. So that's the reputation I have to throughout the years and I'm very, very proud of. It gets you better without having to see the doctor and being able to do it at home.
Which most would prefer. Bob, tell us about your favorite thing about Huber's and working there. What was something that just made you get up in the morning every day and just love going in there? What was it? Was it the people? Was it something that people had shared with you and continuously share here on the Best of Brayton? You know, whenever pictures are put up of Bob's store, Huber's, you know, we got all kinds of people, over 1,000 hits, and people always share with Bob and with us how good Bob was to them, what lessons that were taught by Bob, and just all around good guy, a family store that we all loved and miss. But what was it that really sparked you up?
What sparked me was, like you said, Mike, is the people, my customers, being able to help people. I was able to give you free advice, consultation, way before it became, if you want to call it, the standard. The service is what I was able to give, and that's what I aimed for. And of course, as most all of you know, because many of you have worked for me through the years, I helped instill a work ethic in my high school people that I had. At one time, I had 36 employees, and only 6 of them were full-time. I had 30 high school employees at one time.
Wow.
That I was training, helping, and to help, if you want to say, start their work ethic that would help them develop for further in life. Many of you have commented to me and commented to my friends and so forth the fact that Bob's work ethic was very, very high standards, high up there, and helped them succeed and further in their life. And that's, how can I say thank you for that? I mean, that's just something I was able to share, I was able to give, and that's what I enjoy. And I still to this day enjoy being able to give back to community efforts and things that I can help with and help do. Many of you do know, before we had the tragic accident, I used to donate the 4th of July fireworks. And that was completely, sure, the fire department, if you want to say, set them off and showed them, but I was able to help donate my calendars, which many people maybe even have some hanging on the wall yet, just as a reminder of Huber's. We're very, if you want to call it picturesque, very, very favorites. I mean, I would give away, back when $10,000 bought the best Cadillac that you could buy, I would give away $10,000 worth of calendars each, if you want to call it. And yes, I made you come in after Christmas because I didn't want them to get lost in the Christmas wrapping paper and the Christmas rush.
Right.
I made you come back after Christmas and get that calendar. But I did it on a purpose, simply so to go from there. And of course, many of you reminded many of you of my $2 bills. The main reason I use $2 bills is because when you spent that $2 bill elsewhere in town, people knew where you had been. You got the $2 bill from Huber's. That was a form of, I call it free advertising. It was advertising that word of mouth. Hey, where'd you get that? I haven't seen one of those in years.
Exactly.
This is the kind of thing that was just beyond and beyond, if you want to say, the normal conscious thing. And yes, I did redo my cash drawers so it had a slot for $2 bills. And believe it or not, my employees make my cash shortage loss from making change was helped by the $2 bill because they made less mistakes and so forth, so I lost less money for change making. And yes, I know I have somebody just within the last month tell me that I still count back change how you taught me to, Bob, even though people don't expect it or want it. counting backup change is just a lost art and a lost way of doing it. If you don't have the cash register, employees don't know how much change to give you nowadays.
It's changed quite a bit, and we realize that it's unfortunate. Now, let's talk about this community. You have given so much, Bob, that most people know, but some people may not. What are some of the things that you have donated time to and money in this town of Brighton over the years?
Of course, I've donated to the normal places and so forth. If any of you have been out to the Howell Nature Center, you'll know that I donated 2 habitats out there at the Nature Center. And in fact, I was just out there day before yesterday and looked up all their new improvements. They have a new director now, fantastic amount of improvements and changes out there. And that's just one quick thing. But of course, I've always donated to help, whether it's through the chamber, whether it's the community foundation that I have been on the foundation since it was founded back in the early 1990s, and that has seen a lot of activities in the whole county. That's the county foundation that we have that I've been able to help there. Anywhere from the church, the First Presbyterian Church, the Bountiful Harvest, which is in the back part of the church property now. I've enjoyed being able to help there financially. And yes, financially, there are many places in the community that can use help and need help. And whether it's from the fire department back in the early days of doing the fireworks, to the Halloween trick-or-treating, to things that they have always participated in. I've supported many of the groups in the community that are going. Dina is one of the latest ones that's been here. She's been raised through the different groups, and I've enjoyed being able to do that. And it's because of you, through your patronage of Huber's Drugstore, my hard work through the years, especially and I don't need to tell you, I probably have made more money, can I say, working for somebody than I did working for myself. But back there when I was working for myself, I was getting self-satisfaction, which is hard to measure. Sure, when I worked for the James, I was getting self-satisfaction for the people that looked for Bob when he was in to ask him questions. Thank you.
Well, Bob, you've done a lot for our community, well respected, along with the Corgans, Conleys, and the list goes on. But I would say you're right up there, Bob. We all appreciate you, and whether we showed it in our younger years or we show it today, if you ever run into Bob, shake his hand and show him your appreciation. Share with him the stories that you have of Huber's. And this town has changed so much, and we still have a lot of good people in this area that help out with Kiwanis Club and other clubs associated with Brighton. So again, we want to thank you for this time that we're sharing with Bob on Table for Two from the Best of Brighton. This is Mike Tilt and Bob Herbst signing off for now, and we will be back. Bob's quite the historian, and I'm sure he has plenty of stories to share with us, stories that we never knew. And for myself, I love learning. I love learning the history of Brighton. And let's get the young people involved. There's a lot of people on this site, over 2,000, that are probably my age, Bob's age, maybe a little less, but we don't really have too many young people. How do we do that? If you have any suggestions, below on the comments, write down your ideas on how we can bring the youth up in the history of Brighton today. Thank you again. God bless.
Big Cheese Productions is automobilia at its finest with unbeatable prices, hard-to-find pieces, and museum-quality restorations. They offer a wide range of products such as gas pumps, signs, fiberglass statues, automobilia, neon globes, and much more. Turn your establishment into a showroom today. Check out Big Cheese Productions at BigCheesePetro.com, preserving history one piece at a time.